There's no need to check your sound. I'm just demonstrating that we really miss sound when it's not there. So this video is about silence and solitude. It's one of the practices of Jesus. In the last video, I said there are 5 practices of Jesus. I am being humble and telling you that apparently in my research for this video, I'm finding that there are 7 practices of Jesus, so possibly I'll go through all 7. Anyway, one of the practices of Jesus is silence and solitude. The practice of silence and solitude is intentional time that we spend alone in the quiet with ourselves and God. There are 2 different types of silence. There's external silence and there's internal silence. External silence is the noise, the constant bombardment that we have in our lives with our devices, social media, traffic, construction, people talking, even our talking is an infringement on silence. You have to be intentional these days to find silence. People turn on music or listen to podcasts or watch Netflix or scroll through their social media feed. Even your own talking, sometimes you have to learn when to stop talking. In Ecclesiastes 3:7, it says there's a time to talk and a time to be silent. So sometimes you just need to know when it's time to shut up. The other form of silence is internal silence, and that's the voices in our heads. And it reminds me of that song. It reminds me of that song, Gloria, Gloria. Something about the voices in my head calling Gloria. That might be not make the cut. There are voices in our heads, thoughts, anxieties, fears, things that we have trouble silencing. And that takes practice in just sitting in quiet. Solitude is the other part of silence and solitude. Solitude reminds me of Superman in his fortress of solitude. He actually went to a place, I think it was like an ice cave or something, and he had this fortress of solitude, and it would be his place where he could be alone and connect with his homeworld. That's really interesting because Jesus used solitude in the same way. He would be alone by himself on a mountaintop or in a quiet place or in the desert, and he would use that time to connect to God. And that's what we are called to do. We see Jesus's model of solitude in Mark and Luke and all of the Gospels, really. Jesus went to the desert right after he was baptized, and he spent 40 days in the desert by himself. And he was able to use that time to basically charge up his batteries and tap into more power in order to resist the temptations from the devil. So I encourage you to practice silence and solitude. But that's exactly what it is. It is a practice, not a performance. That is the way I want you to think about this practice of silence and solitude. It is not a performance. It is not an opportunity to compare yourselves with others. And practice, the word practice helps you to think of getting better and better and better. You start small, start short, start with, 1 minute of silence in a solitary place. And then you can expand to whatever you can do. I encourage you to do what you can, see what fits your life. I can tell you what fits my life, if that's helpful. I can also tell you some other people that have different examples, but Bishop Tutu, an Anglican bishop in Africa that just died last year, said he spends 4 hours a day in prayer and silence and solitude. That is not something that's going to fit into most of our lives. Most of us are not monks or nuns or bishops that, live that kind of life. So I encourage you to do what you can do. I'll tell you what I do. I don't ever put a clock on it, so I don't know the times that I spend differ depending on what is going on in my life, and sometimes how much I need to spend with God. But but I can tell you that I have found the best opportunity for me to have solitude is early in the morning. So sometimes it's 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes it's 6 o'clock. Generally, it's before anyone else gets up in the morning. And that is a habit I started building when I still had my children in the house. And I realized that that was really the only time I was going to be able to find to spend alone. I have found that my time with God is so essential to my life that I definitely make it a priority to make it the first thing I do when I get up in the morning. Another habit that I've made is I do not have my phone near me when I go to bed at night. So I am not bombarded with things from social media or emails or texts or calls during the night. And so first thing in the morning, it's not the first thing I reach for. So if that is helpful for you, you might find a separate place that's apart from where you sleep to keep your devices so that they're not a constant bombardment of your life, and also so that make it a habit not to reach for that first thing in the morning. Work in the silence and solitude before you start in on your electronic devices in the morning. That works for me. It might not work for you. Just be patient with yourself and give yourself grace as you work on this practice. And remember, it is just practice. In the description of this video, I'm going to give you several links to some books. I'm also linking another video. It's by a man named John Mark Comer, and he's written several books. He says things much more eloquently than I do. I encourage you to start practicing silence and solitude. Remember that God loves you.